How's everybody? How's everybody?
I'm here. Right?
Let me. Okay. Alright, just waiting on Boardzy to join in here. Let me turn off the. How's the audio sounding? That's the first thing we need to check out.
It's alright, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, hoes dodging. And yes, comment, there will be wonderful energy here. That's what it's all about. Just waiting on Boardzy again here, and then we about to be booming. And I guess you guys can see my regular mice to be used. Yeah, he's grinding aim gods right now. It'll be a interesting game to be seen. I can let you guys know that one for sure. Also, we made some changes to the layout since the last stream. So, I hope you guys like it. Hey, there he is, Boardzy, man of the hour. All right, so
Hello.
chat, I need you guys to do something. We're gonna test everyone's volume and tell me if it sounds even. All right, so we'll start off with me. This is what I sound like. All right, now Boardzy.
Hello, everybody. You know me.
All right, Hektik.
What's going on? I'm Hektik.
All right, WParacordS.
That's good. I'm WParacordS.
All right, Blue, you here? You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. And then Lethal.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
All right, cool. All right, how'd everybody sound?
I think Boardzy could sound a bit louder.
Wait, I need to sound louder?
And no, it's fine, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So yeah, let's test this out. And thanks for the follows, everyone. Lots of love. All right, so we have an agenda today. So welcome to we're testing a new name. So welcome to the Mouse Podcast. That's what we're thinking about putting on Spotify, Apple Music. So again, welcome to the Mouse Podcast. Right now, our guests, we have the usual suspects, me and Boardzy. Hode is right now preparing to launch his pro career as a pro Finalmouse gamer. So Pog. And we have Hektik. He is known for his Braided Wires and just overall mouse specialist. I've been collaborating with him for years. He also made the mouse grip guide, the most important mouse grip guide in the world. He's also a 3D print extraordinaire and has made numerous of his own shapes. We have WParacordS, who makes some of the best paracord drops you can find. We have Blue, co-founder, co-creator of Zaunkoenig. So he makes the M1K, and he actually he created every single wire that's come with the M1K to date. So that's like he made them by hand. And then we have Lethal, who pretty much sells everything. I mean, from paracord cables to Corepad Mousefeet, to Tiger Mousefeet, to the little hand grips, or those ones that we talked about before that I used to love, lizard skins, lizard grips. Oh, I used to love those shits. Dude, he sells everything. Fucking legend. So yeah. Everyone, let's start with introductions. Let's start by saying what's your favorite mouses for gaming and for productivity. Your favorite mouse grip, and then your favorite cable. And I'll start off by going first. My favorite mouse is probably right now the M1K for gaming. And then for productivity, I use the Logitech G604 and I use the Razer ProClick. So those are my go-tos. My typical grip is claw. But of course, for the M1K, I've been fingertipping lately. There's gonna be a review with the boy Blue coming soon. And then my favorite cable is the BBW, and I have a example over here. If I can get it out. Here's my example of a BBW bare braided wire. So that's my favorite cable. And yeah, Boise, you want to go next?
Sure. So my favorite mouse currently probably the G Pro Wireless Superlight. I've just been using it a ton and I love it. I don't really have a productivity mouse. I just use the G Pro Wireless for everything. My grip, it has switched to claw. I used to fingertip, but then I switched to claw. Don't really know why. It just feels better. And for cable, I would say I've never tried a bare braided wire. I definitely want to, but I just love lethal cables, paracord mouse cables, and the WParacordS cables. They're all like top tier. Don't really have a preference.
Oh, wants to go next? I was gonna say Hektik.
Yeah. I guess my favorite mouse is the G Pro 3366, the old one with the really good mouse tension, like button tension. It's so good still. Productivity, same thing. I don't believe in grip types anymore. I think that everything's just the same, but not. It's complicated, but any variant of claw is pretty much good as fuck. And cables, the M1K cable is amazing, and their braided wires are amazing.
All right, so my favorite mouse is probably right now. It's either a mix between the Pulsefire Haste or the Sirius M, because I'm starting to like the shape of it because it's just a smaller Air 58, and the coating is pretty nice too. I don't really have a mouse for productivity. I'd use a Model Wireless when I'm like using Fusion 360 or something for like modeling 3D printed stretch reliefs. And then my favorite grip is like a mix between claw and fingertip. And I've only ever tried my own cables. I've never like bought a paracord from another company.
Based.
Okay. Obviously, my favorite mouse is the M1K, and I don't have a productivity mouse as well. And I use only fingertip grip, and it's been like that for 20 years or something. And my favorite cable is a prototype cable. Besides that, the M1K cable is pretty good, and it took me a long while to find it. So.
Very nice. Currently, mine is the XM1. I use relaxed claw grip because I used to be a dirty palm gripper, and so I just sort of naturally transitioned into that. Productivity, I don't really use anything special. I just use the XM1. And in terms of favorite cable, I guess I would have to say my own, not to be biased, but I developed the perfect cable for me, and seems to work for a lot of other people as well. So.
Awesome. Yeah, shout out to the M1K cable. So Hektik mentioned it. It's like nearly as good as the BBW. So I just want to say that is a really strong cable. Well, I'm sure at some point I'll be trying the various paracord cables from WParacordS and Lethal. And I'll be able to talk more about those. I've heard good things about them. So I think what's going on the face cam for us, I can fix that. But yeah, as far as the what got you into mice, and then what got you into cables and modding, and then what was your first mouse? Um, and then I can go first with this. So my first mouse was a Logitech G700, and I was a big fan of that one in the past. It was a wireless mouse before wireless was good. It had a laser sensor, so it was kind of rough. But then as I kept trying to perfect mice, I really started getting into putting grips on mice and then later changing cables. I mean, I kind of skipped over the whole Paracords into the BBW world. And yeah, so that was, but for mice, I think it was just always trying to min-max. And then once I switched off the G700 and the G602, I was just always trying to find the perfect mouse comfort-wise. So, I mean, we spent years just collecting everything, trying to see what fits my hand best. And it's just been a journey. You know what I mean? It's like there is no end game, but we will continue approaching it to infinity.
Okay, so I'll go next. My first mouse was the G Pro Hero, and it's egg-shaped, so I have a G203 now, but I just stopped liking that mouse after a while. What really got me into mice was kind of the Model O being shit. It was like so hyped up by so many people when I bought it. I was just expecting it to be like a perfect mouse. But the more I used it, the more I realized how terrible it was. And it's also kind of what got me into cables, because people were saying it was like such a perfect cable, but it was still causing issues. So I think my first cables were like Paraflex, and I stuck with those until WParacordS actually offered me some free cables. And then I got like way more into mouse modding, and now basically every mouse I own, Lethal supplies me Paracords. So just want to thank him for that.
Yeah, anytime.
I guess I'm next. Well, my first mouse was an Intel mouse, but that doesn't matter because, like, I had a G502. I spilled orange juice into it, and it fucking died. So I bought some decent, like, cheap used mouse, and I was like, wait, mice are really fucking good. I can farm this. I can go places. I can see what else is in the world. I got annoyed by cables pretty fast, so I made my own paracords. They were still just like whatever. I bought a Ceesa paracord. It wasn't amazing, and then I don't remember where, but it was probably in the GleePad Discord. But I learned about bare braided wires, and holy shit, like, don't bother with anything else.
All right, so my first mouse was actually a Logitech G600. You know, like the MMO mouse. It was 127 grams, I think. And the first thing that got me into like cables and modding and stuff like that was Bad Seed Tech, his the plug series. That was mainly the one thing that introduced me to like the whole community, along with like mouse review and stuff like that.
Okay. My first mouse was probably the Microsoft Explorer 1.0. So that was the one before the 3.0. And that one was even heavier than the 3.0. And the sensor was not that good. So I could get it. I could hit the malfunction speed even when playing StarCraft, which is usually there are not that many quick movements in StarCraft. So yeah. And before that, I probably used some Office mice, but this Microsoft Explorer 1.0 was the first mouse I bought for myself. And cable modding, yeah. Well, the first time I looked into cables was when I had to make my own for the M1K, and it took me literally 2 years to find a good cable. It really wasn't easy.
Yep. I guess my first serious mouse was the a very, very old Razer Death Adder, and started experimenting more when I got into more of FPS games, stuff like that. Ended up sticking with the FK2 for several years, and the big stock Kazawi cable slapping against the desk was pretty much the final straw. And so I actually didn't know what paracords were at the time, so I searched it up, and I believe I found Paraflex up in Canada, and I stuck with their cables for a little bit until I started this business and got into my own and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So I guess for all the mouse cable makers and then mouse makers here, what got you into the business? You know, what inspires you to start doing this? If you want to talk about it.
All right, so I'll go first, but I guess the first thing that really got me into making paracords and stuff, because I knew that I was gonna like start collecting mice and stuff, and I realized that if I just sourced the parts for paracords, it would be cheaper to make them like in a large quantity than to buy them individually. So I literally found a video on YouTube that was like a tutorial on how to make a DIY paracord, and I used like some like parts off like certain websites and stuff, and then now I use like totally different websites from what I started with to source all my parts and stuff like that.
Yeah, for me it's pretty much the same. That and I won't mention names, but they're not in this call. But there's another paracord company and I got one from, and I was just so unimpressed. I was like, there has to be better stuff on the market, and so basically set out to try and make the best cable on the market.
That's it. Let's see. So IPS, what got you into making mice, and then in turn cables? Because obviously you had to make a cable because you made a mouse.
Yeah, well, the search for the fingertip grip, for a usable fingertip grip mouse, got me into mice, because 5 years ago, or even 10 years ago, most gaming mice were pretty big, and the majority of gamers used palm grip or some sort of claw grip, and there were not as much gaming mice out there as there are now, and so no one made a dedicated fingertip grip gaming mouse. So I had to make it myself.
And then Hektik, I know you've experimented with mass producing cables and then making your own shapes and things. What got you into that?
Well, cables I just got annoyed at. I think like everyone did. Well, I never mass produced them, but I got halfway into, I guess, automating bare braided wire production, but I'm lazy and didn't finish it. For shapes, everyone just sucks at making mouse shapes. Like, the theory behind it's so non-existent. Everyone's just throwing shit at the wall, and nobody gets anything done. So I just started prototyping my own shapes. Just found like stuff that works. I have a lot of like theory work in my head, but not a lot of it's out there. So I don't know. Eventually I'm going to start producing my own mice soon. It'll be a while. I just need my own space, more income, but it'll be good when it happens.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. As long as you add some extra large sizes, at least make one extra large size for me for all of your mice. And I got you.
I'll think about it.
Yeah. And then I guess as we move forward, how will better stock cables and then wireless mice, how do you think the future of that's going to impact your business? I know me and WParacordS talked about it maybe like a day or two ago. But how do you think this impacts just the world that you guys live in?
It's a good question.
Yeah, so I think that better cables will probably take away like 30 to 40% of like the market from like going to our website and thinking about buying a paracord for the mouse. But definitely a majority of like mouse enthusiasts will want a paracord still just for that like extra aesthetic. And then wireless, I feel like the more wireless mice are coming out, the more people are asking for me to make like charging cables.
Yeah,
So
same here.
I feel like better cables are more of a threat than wireless mice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends on how quickly like the industry advances with that, like catches on. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a threat. But it's just like sort of like when and like how much. Because like then how much can like paracord makers like get ahead of that? Like what's the next thing we can go to? Like braided wires, for example.
It's
things like that.
Also, wait, are you done?
Yeah.
It's also interesting because like Endgame, they were making really good stock cables on the XM1 V2, but now they're like making a worse cable to focus on durability. So I wonder if like paracord makers are always going to like have that advantage. Because the new cable on the XM1R in the reviewer's guide, they just said that it's straight up a worse cable. They had to add more shielding.
I don't want to single specific people out, but there was a mouse representative that basically said the revision 2 of the XM1 cable didn't pass USB regulations because they just like didn't fucking redo it after the original rubber cable. So that might be why they're changing.
It's possible as well.
That's probably the biggest thing with stock cables. A lot of Chinese mice just don't care because, like, well, why would they? But then a lot of mice that are I guess more Western brands, like, they have to actually care about the USB regulation stuff, or I'm not 100% on how much it applies to them. But yeah, that's a lot of mice are just kind of hard limited by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually interested by what HyperX did on the haste with what's inside the cable. I believe it's just a flame retardant piece of string. So
Nice.
yeah, so it definitely had an interesting effect on the cable, but
well, a lot of the thing is that like Paracord, I'm not 100% sure on how it's classified. I'm not sure if Paracords count as terminated cables. It depends on where they're sold. But a lot of Paracords, if put into actual mice, obviously just wouldn't pass certifications.
correct.
So I'm wondering if more companies might just like start including shitty cable stock and then just like having it so you can swap out the cable, like including a separate Paracord that is a lot better than what they can do with the regulations they're forced to deal with.
That's actually what G-Wolves did with the Hot ES cable. They provide a blue cable that's like way more flexible than the black cable, which has like a ton of shielding. So
Cool.
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll like keep.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was done.
I was just saying, also depending on the country of manufacture and stuff like that, you can also get around certain things by classifying like an aftermarket cable as like a novelty item. So that like basically you're forfeiting any sort of, I guess, responsibility. It's like, oh yeah, it's a novelty. It's not actually meant to be used, but
Sounds fishy.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely fishy, but
Oh, here's a interesting question from, I think, Duke 3D. How difficult is it for a paracord maker to switch over to coiled keyboard cables? I know there's a big market for that as well.
I feel like there's definitely. Or you want to go first?
no, you can go ahead.
All right. I definitely feel like there's already like too much competition in the coiled keyboard market. Like you have Lux cables, you have Dream cables, Space cables, Swift cables, and they're already doing like really high end stuff. And I feel like as a beginner, if I were to start making coils, I feel like it would take me like probably like a month or two to get it down right. So I feel like I would just be wasting my time, and then there's already like, as I said, too much competition to deal with.
Yeah, that and also there's not as much overlap as you would think there, because like paracords are focused like pretty much 100% on flexibility, and so the durability isn't exactly there. And then the process of making the coil itself is definitely different. And also there are manufacturers in China and such now that are catching on to that, and they're already manufacturing them. And I actually have a few test samples from one of the factories there, and the quality is definitely right up there. So that'll probably be stirring up some things here in the near future. I think Matrix Keyboards is already doing that as well with their cables.
I guess the next question is, where you guys, I mean, we touched on it a little bit, but what are your thoughts on shielding? I don't know how much Blue wants to talk about it, but I know Blue came up with a cable that has a very interesting form of shielding. So what are you guys' thoughts on the importance of shielding? And then what are you guys' further thoughts on how the market's going to move around shielding? Good point. I could always do.
Well, I think that as long as like mouse companies focus on the shielding as much as they do on their wires and stuff, they could definitely make like a really good cable. Because Glorious, I usually open up all the cables on like every mouse I get after I paracord them. I'll cut it open, and the original Glorious stock cable had like, it was like, it's not like the G-Wolves one, because the G-Wolves is very like thick like ribbons of shielding, and it definitely like restricts the flexibility. But the Glorious one is like silk kind of. So if they got like really good wires, it would almost be like a very minuscule difference from a paracord.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much my thoughts as well. That's why I mentioned the what HyperX did with their cable and their the haste. Like, clearly companies are starting to experiment with different things to try to get it down because they see the importance of that, and obviously they want to tap into the market more so.
Yeah. So the most stiff shielding you can go for is would be a braided shield, and I don't think any mouse out there has that. And after that is a spiral shield. That's what the M1K uses. And then some gaming mice use aluminum foil, and that if the foil is very thin, that's obviously going to result in a flexible cable. But over time, the foil will get damaged, and thus resulting in reduced shielding. So yeah, aluminum foil has its drawbacks. And I mean, another thing you can do is you can use a fifth wire and wrap that around the 4 wires you need for USB anyway. So then you have a 5 conductor cable. Haven't experimented with that myself. All I know right now is that with a spiral shield, it's the M1K passed the EMC testing, no problems.
Oh, you said braided shielding? Like, what would that be? What would that look like, basically? Just like if you're doing, would it just basically be a 5th conductive in the braid, or braided around the 4 wires?
It would be a braid of thin copper wires around the 4 conductors.
Ah, I get you. Yeah. I was thinking about that a while ago. Instead of like, well, I guess it's, yeah, like with bare braided wires, I was thinking about like if you just added a number of like just copper conductors as part of the braid itself. And I wonder how that would actually work.
That's a good idea. Not be as stiff as a whole conductor if it's just a few single wires. And with a USB mouse, you don't need a ton of shielding, but I think you still need a little bit of shielding. So I think the difficult thing is to really find out how little shielding can you get away with.
Does polling rate impact it at all?
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that'll be interesting with the Razer 8K mice.
Yeah. Well, other things impact it as well. If you use an MCU with very quick rise times, that will be So you will have EMI problems on your PCB already if you don't do it properly, and then these EMI problems can go out on the cable and induce more problems there. So the quality of your PCB design impacts what you can get away with in the cable. Well.
Here's another comment from Zook. Sometimes meeting the minimal standards of CE, FCC, EMI testing is not enough in places with high humidity and general poor setup EMI levels. But I think the next question would be thoughts on cables and tournaments, LAN tournaments. Also, thoughts on wireless signal interference. I remember there were some issues before when everyone tried bringing wireless to a LAN, and you actually started to see interference issues. I guess thoughts on getting like BBWs and Paracords to be a standard in LANs as well as a signal interference.
I guess it really depends on the type of tournament and stuff like that, and at what level of play. Because I know a lot of the tournaments nowadays for like Counter-Strike and Valorant and stuff like that, they actually have to provide a copy of the peripherals they use, and they have to be completely stock in the packaging. So that definitely throws a wrench in things there. But I've noticed that a lot more pro players and stuff like that are catching on to things like Paracords and braided wires and like custom mice and all sorts of stuff. So it's good to see because that's only going to, I guess, advance the industry as well.
I remember that the Fortnite World Cup had that problem because all of the pros were bringing like G Pro wirelesses, and a lot of them like chose to use it with the cable in because it was just like an unplayable amount of lag. But I feel like other tournaments don't really have that, so I don't know why that was.
I think it would be a lot more noticeable in a Battle Royale where you have 100 people bringing mouse and you start having that interference compared to like maybe a Counter-Strike tournament where it's like more of like a 5v5 or something.
Yeah. And it also depends on the type of broadcast equipment they're using as well and the production quality. So if there's a lot of wireless broadcasting video signals going around, that's definitely going to mess with some things.
Yeah, good point. In StarCraft, it's no problem. Usually it's 1 versus 1, so...
Same for Quake. Yeah, so that's also another. I guess then would as we talk about the charger cables being like paracord style, would that be allowed? Do you think in LANs, or do you think that would still have to be provided stock as well?
I mean, it should probably be allowed because I mean, there's not really any issues there, but you know, all this comes down to whatever they decide is fair.
Yeah. I think it touches back on what we talked about last episode. We were talking about how having a custom USB makes it easier to put cheats into your mouse.
Oh yeah, I remember that from last episode. I don't know how many people are really putting cheats on their mice though.
Yeah. Possibility though. Remember in India, I think, was it like 2 years ago in India, where the player put cheats on at LAN? I think it's a Counter-Strike tournament.
Oh, was that the fucking word.exe thing?
Yeah, I think it's something like that, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, Forsaken, yep. Oh gosh. And yeah, I think that's a good point, Supply. If they truly have a zero interference 40-gram wireless mouse, that could be the standard. Now, has Finalmouse ever made a mouse that actually lived up to its weight standards? I mean, I guess we can at least count on 44, 45, if they're being as close to honest.
Yeah. It's not like they can use the excuse as the cable this time either.
Without the battery. What do you mean?
Oh yeah, excluding the battery.
Got a 30-gram battery in it. Yeah, I guess the next question, this is more geared towards Hektik, probably more than anything. But thoughts on BBWs, how they impact the industry. And I think I'll start by touching on, they're very similar to BBW wires, can be found in the IEM market if you're into audio products.
Yeah. Well, braided wires, like, a lot of people, well, it's basically just the barrier of entry is nobody sells it, so you just have to do it yourself, and most people just aren't going to do that. So there's like a very small pool of people who ever used one, but like it's actually really easy to do, and it's also really easy to do on a commercial level. Like braiding wires has been a thing forever. Like as you said, IEM cables. One thing I'm kind of surprised. Well, okay, I should probably explain first that I think that caring about, I think flexibility itself is irrelevant. What you kind of want to achieve is a exponential increase in bending radius. So you want your the smaller movements, the lower degree of movements for the cable to be like really flexible, so you don't ever get that fucking you up. But if it's way too flexible, like the cable will just get caught under the mice. I've had that with bad paracords and even some better paracords. A lot of people don't complain about it, but a lot of people do as well. I think it's a lot more down to how you use your mouse. But the one thing that braided wires achieve is just the exponential bending resistance. Well, I don't know. There's probably a proper mathematical term for it, but yeah, it's just cutting down on weight and then also just keeping the flexibility actually where you want it during all of the movement, rather than just optimizing for a really flexible cable, which is really good if you don't do shit that gets your cable caught under the mouse, or just a stiff cable, which just sucks half the time. And I'm surprised paracord people haven't started doing braided wires in the actual paracord itself. So I think one of the larger points of paracords is just that they look nice, and people don't think so for braided wires as much, which I can understand, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of surprising because it actually, like the individual cables inside the paracord itself, they do actually move around, and there was I think Taunty made it, the explanation of why paracords are kind of shitty. I don't fully subscribe. I think that paracords are good. It's just that like you can go further. You can pull it in different ways. You can do more things.
Yeah. Mars says my experience with braided wires, you never have to worry about them falling under your mouse. I think that's probably the biggest benefit. And no matter how far up you push, you're never gonna have it like flex on you and stop you or anything. And that's one of the biggest strengths. And I think that's something that you also have similar with you get a very similar feel from the M1K wire. No matter how much you push, you're not gonna ever feel it, and then you're never gonna end up falling underneath it.
Yeah, I should have said rubber cables also achieve the exponential bending resistance, whatever the fuck it's actually called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just hard to get a good rubber cable. There's only, I think, one in the world.
The G203 LightSync, or G102, G203 LightSync stock cable is actually surprisingly good. It's not, it's obviously not great, not perfect, but for a stock cable, it's actually really good. I think the issue is just regulations again. Like, it's really hard to get a good rubber cable because they're all just produced commercially for mice, really, and you're not just getting around those regulations. Like, Logitech's not going to do it, Razer's not going to do it, whoever the fuck else.
Yeah. I think similar for the MX518 Legendary. That's probably one of the better from the better stock cables I've used. But yeah, as we keep going, yeah, I mean, I guess until you guys actually get to try Lethal and WParacordS, it's gonna be hard to. Guys, plan on getting Photon in here. He's got like a last minute chemistry assignment that kept him from being here today. He's the only one that's actually tried mass producing BBW, or the only one who's finished a product to mass produce BBWs. But yeah, they just have that feel to them. Have you guys had any interest in like braiding your own wires, WParacordS and Lethal? You guys ever gotten the itch to try it?
I've tried once, but it took too long, so I just gave up like a quarter of the way through.
Yeah, we tried that with some of our first cables, but I don't know, the wiring I could source at the time just I don't know, it was silicone shielded or not shielded, insulated, and just did not work how I wanted it to. I have not tried it with our new custom wiring, but it'd definitely be something to look forward to.
What I would do if I were you, Lethal, because you probably have the means and you live in Atlanta. Because I've tried experimenting with this before. I have one of my homegirls. She's also a software engineer, but she does hair on the side. And I thought about maybe finding like someone who does hair and having them braid wires. Like you probably and living in Atlanta, I know there's plenty of. You might be a little awkward going in there, but you might just need to go find a hairstylist and be like, hey, you want to make a little bit of money on the side, braiding some wires for me? Because they have the capability. When you see how they use their hands, they can do it. Especially the ones that make those tight hair braids.
Yeah.
But I really feel like you'd be able to outsource it. I think a similar thing, we're going to talk about this a little bit later if you want to talk about it, Blue. But you want to talk about how you've been starting to mass produce your wires a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Well, luckily I don't have to braid them. But soldering and crimping is already enough work.
Yeah.
And especially for the crimping, you have to be very careful to. The wire on the MOK is so thin, so it's 32 gauge. So if you push in the wire too much, then the wire will what's the word it will kink, yeah, and then you don't have a proper crimp. And obviously you have to still push in the wire quite a bit. So that's a delicate balance. And then soldering, that's annoying as well with these fine wires. We have 19 wires per conductor. And each wire is, I think, 0.05 millimeters in diameter. And if you're not careful, you can get bridges between two solder pads and not even see it because these wires are so thin. That's a lot of work. I did that for like the first 450, 500 cables for the M1K. And just like last month, we found a company that is doing the soldering and crimping from now on. So I'm finally free from cable assembly.
Nice.
Yeah, I know there's another paracord company out of Japan, HID Labs. They actually just started doing that as well. They send off their custom wiring, and then they have a company do the crimping and the soldering for them.
And the thing is, I'm not even that good in with crimping and soldering. So the company that does it now, they make better crimps, and especially their soldering is way better than mine. So I mean, these guys have been soldering cables for 20, 30 years. So they're just really good, and I think twice as fast as me. So yeah.
So you could Next thing you know, you guys can be going to the hair salons, have them make your BBWs, then you go from there to a crimping company, and you have the whole process automated.
Yeah, that would be the dream.
I know Photon Wire, the guy who does it, has said one time that he has he created and 3D printed his own machine, or he just spins a dial and it braids the wire really fast for him.
Yeah.
He should definitely keep that to himself, because if any other company were to get the designs for that, it would just be he would be ran out of business, I feel.
Yeah, he actually lives 15 minutes from me. So at some point I've been meaning to get a cable from him. But I mean, he's farther out now. But I've been trying to get one of those on my hands. I wish I know there's a little bit difference in quality. And now he's got a second version, which is more similar to the Tonti style wires. I don't know how many people receive that one yet, but that's the direction where he's going with it. But I know Hektik as well has worked on 3D printing a machine to accomplish the same task. So if you want to talk about the ideas behind it and your progress with doing it as well.
It's actually really easy to do. Anyone can make one. You can buy industrial machines that do it for, well, I don't know how much actually. I never looked into it because it's I can just make mine. Yeah, it's just a 4-round braiding maypole braider. They're pretty easy to make. 3D printing is kind of annoying because you have a bunch of moving surfaces and dumb stuff like that. But Photon's original cables were not great. They just weren't good. They were really, really fucking floppy, really loose braided. Loose isn't always bad, but it's just I think they were using silicon. It's not great. Yeah, you can braiding 4-round cables, which is that's actually really easy. You can IM cables, of course, you can just get some of that. You can outsource it, but I don't know how. Well, I don't know what sort of wire options they would have. It's easy enough to do yourself. You just need to have some CAD understanding, basically. I don't want to say anyone, but most people with reasonable engineering knowledge could make the same machine pretty easily.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I actually used to work in car audio for several years. And my boss at the time, he did a lot of high-end custom work. And he actually spent a lot of time braiding wires. So he actually hired someone to design and make him a custom drill bit that braided things. So you just put all the wires in there and then just put it on slow and it'd braid the wire.
That wouldn't braid it. It would only twist it.
Oh, no. It was a custom design. It was several cog pieces.
Oh, yeah. I basically, I made my original braiding thing. I just never got to finish it because I was making it for someone else. And I originally just powered it with a drill. It's not that hard. You just need, it is just 4 gears and then spools that sit on top of them in a track that do kind of like a flower pattern. It's pretty simple. You can just make them. People really should.
Yeah. We have another question in the chat, this time from Slurpee. I'm confused. How did they get the original cable to make it into a paracorded cable? I know zero about this topic.
As in the start to finish process?
I'm sure. Let's go with that.
Well, it might be different for other people, but for us, we use a custom wiring that we source, and it comes on spools of different colors. And then our prep process is a little different because we can only prepare so much due to the 3D printed stress sleeves. But basically, you just have we use 4 wires currently, and we cut them to a certain length, solder the USB end, and then that's basically all you can do to prep. And then per order, we cut the paracord itself to length, run the wires through, put the 3D printed stress relief on, crimp, do the connector, and then test, and then it's done.
Yeah, mine's basically the same as Lethal, sort of.
Okay. I guess the next question would be thoughts on various AWG. So like the 32, the 36. I know the big thing is how much power you can give the mouse, but if you aren't focusing on things like RGB, I know me and Blue talked about this. If you're not focusing on RGB, you can make the cables even thinner and thinner. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on min-maxing this?
It honestly just really depends on what you want to go for. When I was researching for our new wiring that we use, a lot of people voiced that it was very important for the RGB to still work on their mice. And obviously, if you're developing a mouse that doesn't have it, it's not so much an issue. So basically, it was trying to come up with a like how many strands and stuff like that would work and still meet like USB power standards to make sure no one has any issues with charging either, or RGB, stuff like that. So, if you really wanted to push the envelope, obviously that opens up a lot more avenues if you don't care about RGB charging, fast charging, things like that.
What's the thinnest gauge or the highest gauge you have used?
The highest gauge I've used is 32 or 28. I was trying a type of custom silicone, and ended up going with a 32 with PVC.
32. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the same.
Yeah, it sounds about like we use very close to similar wiring.
So the insulation on that?
Oh, the PVC insulation on the 32.
Okay. The 32 is PVC and the 28 is silicone?
Correct. We decided not to go with that one though.
I think you can get away with 36 gauge if the RGB is not too heavy, but I think it will depend on the mouse. I think on Glorious mice, for example, there's lots of RGB, so you probably can't get away with 36 gauge. But on mice with less RGB, 36 gauge could be enough. And in general, 32 gauge already is pretty small. 34, 36, 38, it doesn't get that much more flexible, but it gets a lot harder to work with, and it gets a lot more expensive. So, well.
Yeah, we have some 36 gauge in right now, and yeah, it's not worth it for us at least.
And the thing with a paracord is, in a paracord, is 36 gauge wires conductors would be pretty vulnerable because they're not supported by a jacket or not supported by each other as they would be in a bare braided wire, which is one of the advantages of a bare braided wire. Each of the four conductors protects the other three. So, and in a paracord, you can have the issue that you pull the cable, and then one conductor gets almost all of the force, and then cracks. If you would then have a 36 gauge conductor, that could be it right there.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised people really haven't started putting braided cables into paracords. Like, it's kind of a no-brainer after a while. I guess the hard limit is the actual paracord itself. But HID Labs, someone mentioned them before, they started doing their own custom paracord, like, what would you call it? Like braiding the fabric sheath or whatever. So that's actually interesting. You could start going really heavy with that and getting like really good quality, like lighter paracord itself.
Yeah, we experimented with that a while back. At least that type of weave. It's usually found in it's called PPE, and it's there's a type of material they use, stuff like that. But it's not very easy to find. So that's probably why they had it made.
Yeah.
PE, what does that stand for? Polypropylene ethylene, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a synthetic material, obviously, and they use that same style of braid, and experimented with it back when we used our old wiring, and sent it out. And a lot of people didn't like the idea that they could see the wiring through it sometimes when it was flexing and stuff like that. They thought it was a negative to durability and stuff like that. So.
Interesting. So basically, what could be better? It just had negative from the user base. What would you say? I guess this gives a second question, right? So, what would you say your consumer base is in terms of awareness about mice, just in general, and not to like bash them or praise them or anything, but how far up the chain would you say that they are in terms of their mouse knowledge? Like, is it to them just you have like a wide variety of people that just started dipping in? When I hear them saying things like questioning the durability and things like that, I'm just curious, like, if you were to put out like a blast or something informing them about it, or how's like the user testing go? That's kind of a long-winded question.
It really depends, just because like as you like, mainly this is catering to, I would assume, first-person FPS players, just because cable swiping, Mousefeet and stuff like that. They all seem to be more like FPS players seem to be more into this kind of thing. So it really depends. But as you grow, stuff like that, you get more and more customers that might not know as much. And so like that was the idea behind when I started doing 3D printed stress releases. Like, oh, well, if more people are going to get into this, like want to have the easiest installations possible, like that's also going to cut down on having customer service and support and guides and stuff like that. So, it really just depends, because as this stuff gets more popular, it's just really hard to say. But I would say for my customers, I'd say probably about 80% of them know enough. Like, you don't really have to go into too much detail about stuff, but I've been getting a lot of new customers, and they're like someone just received one of our paracords, and they're like, oh yeah, like, is this normal? I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm new to this kind of thing. So I don't know what WParacord's experience has been though, but
yeah, actually, I started doing 3D printed stress reliefs only because I couldn't find the correct size for heat shrink.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would say it, but then like other people would say like this is like not the correct size. So I just stood away from that, and I got a 3D printer. But what I first did was I actually got these little rubber bits that were actually meant for like drainage pipes and stuff like that, and like tubing and stuff for like, I guess like anything involving like a tube with water like shooting out of it to like seal it shut. And I just cut it so that it would work for a specific mouse.
yeah.
I know the BBWs that I have, the heat shrinks are their attempt to heat shrink. It's just electrical tape, like cut really thin and then coiled around. That was the approach that Tonti took when he did that. Okay, I think this is a really fitting as where the conversation's going. How would you expand your business, or already have, if you're willing to share?
Well, what I want to do is I actually found the dechanic control surface like available as like an OEM, and I kind of want to make it so that like Because before, when people were able to buy the dechanic control pad for like around like 15, 20 bucks, I kind of want to make it like that again. Because right now the only option you have is like Mousepad Company. It's like 35, 40 bucks. And I think that's pretty steep for the Surface. Considering I found it and now I realize it's an OEM, they're selling it for that much.
Yeah. We've already started the process of sort of expanding. As the cables are in high demand, they sell it rather quickly, which is been a source of a lot of anger toward us from customers, but, rightfully so. And, COVID hasn't helped with that, not being able to really hire people and stuff like that. But luckily, we applied for Shopify Fulfilment. And so all of our standard inventory, so basically everything but the cables, will now be stored in 2 of their warehouses, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. And so they'll be handling all the standard orders. And so that'll give us much more time to make cables, prepare, stuff like that, research, advance things. And as soon as the vaccines start going out more, I already have 2 or 3 hires lined up to help sort of assembly line the cable process. And then go from there and see how many we can make per week and stuff like that. And then it'll allow me some time to explore other steps, I guess.
More time to be on podcasts too.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to get some more time for Boardzy to talk. So, what is your thoughts just on hearing all this stuff? How do you feel like this is impacting? How is this changing what your experience and what your fans' experiences will be?
I mean, it's definitely interesting to hear about bare braided wires since they're not like really commercially available. Not many people know about them, and definitely getting a lot more info out on that. And also like about the cable making process, because I'm just like a consumer when it comes to this. I'm actually modding my M42 right now. My cable just came in from Lethal. So yeah, just nice to hear this.
I guess the next question would be, what is the mass production standard? So for like W, I know W is just the greatest story ever. You got this 16-year-old guy's own business, really just rocking it. So kudos to the young legend. And then Lethal, like the heavy industry titan in the game. So having both you guys here is great. So how do you mass produce your mice, or what are your steps to improving your mass production? I think Lethal, you already touched on that, but W, so I guess this is more geared towards you. How are you getting your mass production set up? And then as a way to add Hektik into this, once you get your mouse, start making these mice, do you have plans to be able to start expanding on the mass production side?
Yeah, so definitely there's not really a way to mass produce like the handmade cables, but doing the 3D printed stress reliefs, those are more easily like mass produced because I could 3D print like around 20 at a time for each individual mouse. But yeah, trying to like make cables faster would mean like getting better tools and stuff like that, and just like getting like a better process down for like getting all the parts ready.
Yeah, pretty much that. And obviously more people helps too. Just like if you can assembly line every step, that definitely helps things speed wise, and you actually get a better quality product in the end. Because before COVID started happening, I was having 4 people here doing every step, and took 4 of us about 7 hours to make almost 100 cables. So yeah, that's really not bad at all. And like you mentioned, the 3D printed stress release currently use SLA style printer, so it prints like a layer across the entire thing at a time. So you're able to do about 20 or so at a time, depending on the stress relief. And obviously there's other options to make even more of those if need be. So yeah, it basically just comes down to streamlining the process, maybe even getting some custom tools made.
Incoming custom BBW tools? I know it's tempting, Lethal. I know you have the means to do it. Yeah, if you want to, I might have to send you a cable, see if we can start mass producing BBWs.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I wouldn't mind looking into.
Yeah. Okay. And then if you're interested in W, I can also let you guys each hold on to a cable for a little bit. I guess the next thing would be also on part suppliers. So I know you guys all have different companies that you go to for your part supplies and everything. So thoughts on that, and how, like you said, I know W in the beginning, how you went from one supplier to another as you become more efficient. So how does that experience go? Well, how you feel about your current suppliers, and where does it go from here? And I think this is also a good question for Hektik and Blue to talk about as well. You guys all have part suppliers too.
Yeah, so I used to use Amazon for some parts, like not all of them, but just like mainly just mailing stuff now. But I used to actually source like USBs and stuff like that and micro USB parts from that. But wires have always been from like specific like wire manufacturing companies. And then now I use like Zap cables for micro USB parts and like heat shrinks and stuff like that.
Yeah. For us, we source most of our parts from DigiKey. While they don't have the most intuitive way to like find them, they are reliable. They're not the cheapest, but it makes the process so much easier, at least for us, compared to the suppliers we used to use. And so it was worth the slight increase in cost and stuff like that. And then finding the right wire supplier can definitely be difficult, especially if you're looking for something custom. Not too many companies are willing to do that, at least currently. And,
yeah, I'm actually.
yeah.
Or you want to go first?
Oh, keep going.
I'm gonna be switching like back to DigiKey because I used to use their USBs and like their USB like hood covers for like the longest time, but I had to switch to like the ones similar to Paracable mods because the ones from DigiKey were always going out of stock, and but now they're like stock is like very high, so I'm gonna be switching back just because of like the better durability and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And before we find out that Lethal was buying them out.
I was definitely buying a large portion, so
Lethal,
yeah, that was a theory I had.
Icing W out of the game. I see how it is. Attacking the poor 16-year-old. Shame on you.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Is like there's, I don't know, I just view like other paracord makers and other cable makers stuff like that as like friendly competition. Because like realistically, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Like there's plenty enough room for like all of us here and stuff like that. So it's interesting to hear like the other sides of stuff like that.
Yeah, there have always been people who are telling me like things that I could do to like stomp on the competition, but I always think of it like they're like another option. If one person has like their stuff out of stock, there's always another option. Yeah, and there have been people telling me to like restock and stuff like that, and I've always like recommended you could buy a paracord from like Paracord Mouse or Lethal instead if like you don't want to wait.
Yep, because every time we have to cancel a drop or something like that, I always recommend Paracord Mouse and you as well.
Also, while we're talking about Paracord Mouse, shout outs, we did they should end up on a future episode at some point. It just didn't work out for this one, but we will look to get them. Great people, awesome talking to them in our conversation. So I put that shameless plug out there for them. Yeah. And also same for MouseClub, because I know MouseClub wanted to be here too, and they're pretty cool people. So the next question would be, what are the advice for the do-it-yourself makers out here? I know, you guys are do-it-yourselfers come from there. We're talking about the friendly competition and everything. What are your thoughts on the do-it-yourself community? What would you recommend to them? All of that.
I honestly think it's great. Like you said, like we both got started me and WParacordS because we wanted to like make our own, just because it's a lot more convenient. I'm sure a lot of other people, have the same thought. And like I said, the issue is like with DigiKey, it's like hard to source the things if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. And so I believe that you just mentioned MouseClub. They have like their own DIY section, and I think that's great. And the only recommendation I have for them as well as other people is like make sure you have like the proper tools, because that'll save you a ton of time and headache.
Yeah, I feel like one thing that people like DIYers don't think about is the solder, because some people get like solder that has like more lead in it, and it definitely takes like you have to have like your soldering iron to be like hotter in order for the solder to melt, I guess. So I always recommend getting like a lead-free solder for like beginners, because lead-free solder is always easier to heat up.
No, it's harder. Lead-free has a higher melting temp.
Really? I find lead-free solders like they just they work quicker than solders with like lead in it.
I guess that also depends on the thickness of solder you're using as well.
Get a fine solder.
Yeah, but lead-free is definitely safer for the average person.
What do you guys use for crimping? The Engineer?
I actually just use a ratcheting style crimper from JST.
Yeah, I use a ratcheting crimper.
Okay, so the official JST.
I've heard really good things about it.
It's like 1,000.
Yeah, I also heard that.
Yeah, definitely don't use that one. I found one on Amazon. It's just I believe the brand is IWISS, IWISS.
Speaking of this, I have in my cart because I want to do some DIY stuff, mainly to repurpose my BBWs, and I've got some things. I talked to MouseClub actually at one point on some things that he recommended. This was ages ago. But what I had in my cart, just for people that are interested in getting started, and I want you guys' opinions on it as well. So I had the Klein Tools 11057 wire cutter wire stripper, and then the Engineer's Precision crimping pliers PA09, and then the Kester 6337 8850 activated Rosen cord wire solder. So what are you guys' thoughts on those, if you guys know them offhand?
I actually use the same strippers and cutter. So that's good. Any sort of ratcheting style crimper I think is best, just because it's easy to use. You're less likely to mess up on crimping a wire and having to cut it off, start over, restrip.
What gauge is 20's braided wires if you wanted to re-crimp those?
I believe they're 32. I think only hamsters tried 36 to my knowledge.
I think they are 28 or 30. Oh wait, I only got Tonti sent me over one, but it was based on the XM1 cable, so I think that one is 28 or 30. So
yeah,
okay. I guess he has. Yeah, okay. I guess he has done custom braided wires as well.
So that's why he stopped making wires. I actually wore him out. I bought like maybe 17 wires from him, and then most of them were custom. About half of them were custom, where he bought the wires for me from this company called, I can give you guys the supplier for the 32 that he was using. Oh, and then the soldering station is the Tiswall 65-watt solder station welding iron with smart temperature control, 392 degrees Fahrenheit to 896 degrees Fahrenheit. Extra 5-piece soldering tips, built-in transformer, ideal for school lab, hobby electronics. I don't know what you guys think about that one.
What was the brand?
Tiswall.
I don't have any experience with them, but Hako, theirs are really good. Obviously expensive. A cheaper option that I've tried that's also really good is Xtronic.
Okay.
Yep, and their customer service has been excellent. I got a dead iron from them, and they just straight up replaced it. No questions asked. Didn't even make me return it. So,
nice. Yeah, we'll probably put the links in that for you guys who are interested in the do-it-yourself. The links will be in the description for the YouTube video. And then I guess the next thing as we go, and I'll also put the links for the BBW wires that Tonto used, because it was really cool because you could pick out the colors. That was one thing that to style the colors for the custom ones. He showed me where he bought the wires, and he's like, basically pick a few colors from these, and you can make your own, and he'll make them for me. Which is why I have this one that was like a fire color, so it's like orange, red, and yellow. Then I have another one that's like black and gray and white. And then I had another one that's like red and black, and I think maybe white. So that was kind of a cool thing that he did, and where the BBW market can be. If you really just pick out the colors that you're going to be using. The main thing that he had to do is on the ends, he had to put like little tags. I have to show you what the inside of these look like. Maybe I have one of these open. But yeah, you have to basically show, he would have these little teeny tiny tags on them that would show what color each one's supposed to represent. Like if this color was actually green, if this color was actually black, if this color was actually red, and if this color was actually white. And that made it really helpful for me. Yeah. So it's definitely, you can definitely style out BBWs and make them a cool artistic flourish if you really wanted to get into it. And we can talk offline about it sometime too if any of you guys are really interested in that. And I guess the next thing would be, is our next question. When did stock cables start improving? What is you guys' knowledge of it? To me, I know like when Finalmouse and DreamMachines really changed the game. And I think rightfully so, because Finalmouse, people don't realize this, but the Finalmouse Ergo, horribly bad cable. The original Ultralight Pro and Ultralight Sunset, terrible cables. And that's what made the Ultralight, that's what made the, I always forget the color, the Phantom so good. Because they took what was already a great mouse with a terrible gosh awful cable, and then they made it into something that people actually would care about. That's why I started on that topic. Where is it for you guys?
I mean, yeah, that definitely started with pretty much them. Just like the idea of not just having a standard rubber cable. It was like super heavy and stuff like that. I mean, I think it was like comparatively to now, it was definitely more of a baby step, but you know, it definitely opened up the door to a lot of people. And like I said, like now seeing like XM1 with the V2 and HyperX with the Pulsefire Haste, you know, they're still continuing to try to improve on stuff like that.
Yeah. How would you guys, and I think Boardzy's also really good for this, how would you guys rank right now stock cables? M1K comes first, but we'll say stock paracord cables to make it fair for everybody else.
Off the top of my head, I'd probably say XM1 V2 Pulsefire Haste definitely have the best. But the new Ascended cord on the Model O wireless is actually surprisingly flexible. I don't know if that's on all of their mice though. Cooler Master stock cables aren't bad. and the blue cable with the Hot ES. But other than that, I usually just put a paracord on the mouse.
Yes. And then I know Lethal and W, you guys check out all the different cables when you guys are messing with your mice and stuff. So, what are you guys' thoughts?
I definitely think that, yeah, Boardzy's list is pretty accurate, but I'm just saying, like, if companies started switching to better wires, they would have like way better cables.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that as well. Boardzy's list too, because like the XM1 stock cable is definitely probably the best with pulsefire haste behind it. But it's just like when I was experimenting with new wiring and stuff like that, when I sent out tests, a lot of people are like, yeah, the extra flexibility is nice and all, but like they really notice the difference in weight and stuff like that. So I think that would probably be the next step for most companies, is to try to reduce the weight of it as well, just so you don't feel it dragging on there for people who don't have a bungee, or if it is flexible enough to still drag even with a bungee, that would definitely help alleviate some of that.
How heavy are your cables, by the way? Do you weigh them?
No, I've not weighed them.
Okay. So M1K cable, for comparison, is like 8.4 grams per meter, I think. Testing another cable right now, that's like 6 grams per meter. And you can go even lower.
Is that including any connectors or anything? Or is that just the wire in the sheet?
No, just 1 meter of bare cable.
Okay.
And a thing with so the wires inside the cable really have a strong influence on the overall cable feel. But the thing is that many mouse companies couldn't use a very small cable, even if they wanted to, because all of the machinery, the factory, would not be able to cut that cable, to crimp that cable. It's just for example, the cable that the cable company that we outsource to, they have been around for like 30 years or something, and they never had to work with such a small cable. So these 32 gauge conductors really pushed them to the limit. So they really had to test it, and I think they had to order new parts for their machines. They had to upgrade all of their existing machines so they could properly work on the M1K cable. So it really comes with a price if you go with fine conductors.
Yeah.
And see, this is why when people ever ask why the M1K is so expensive, the M1K is so expensive because they don't care about making a mouse that's all about the gains profit-wise. They're like, I just want to make the best fucking mouse possible. And then after that, I'll charge you for it, but it's going to be the best fucking mouse possible. And then we'll just figure out what the price is at the end. And that's what you'll pay for it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on what Raichu said in the chat, where he said problem is people like RJN, where they think that cables can be too flexible, and that causes the companies to like hold back. And I don't think he's the problem, because there's definitely a large majority of people out there who want better cables. And so like I'm most confident sure that companies see that, and they're not just going to listen to one person, which is RJN.
RJN has single-handedly turned the world into an army of FK2s. I just want to throw that out there. Not anything against the FK2 shape. My personal favorite ambi is the G303 and the ZA11, but I get why the FK have a FK Plus. I get why it's so important in history, but his impact should not be undersold. Rocket Jump Ninja definitely has a huge impact on the industry, for better or worse.
I'm his number one fan.
I used to be in his Discord all the time back in the day. I know Hamster, for those of you who know who Hamster is, old legend. Hamster used to really spend a lot of time teaching him about mice, so he didn't sound so interesting. We're gonna be polite today. Interesting. And I know when I was in his Discord, his mods used to ask me tons of questions about mice. because they had large hands and tall people that would end up in the Discord. They'd be like, "Yes, we understand. Rocket Jump's list, his list is not for you. So ask Andrew, and Andrew might actually be able to help you find a good mouse." But I mean, at the same time, Rocket Jump Ninjas kind of created a lane. He kind of took mice reviews out of the OCN world and into the wonderful world of YouTube at the same time. So I mean, there's pros and cons with everything. Just like Ceesa, I mean, if you talk to Ceesa, I talk to Ceesa every now and then. Ceesa's gonna spend a lot of time telling you about how he basically birthed Lethal and birthed WParacordS and all of them. But at the same time, he did do a lot of good things for making Paracords. Like, I mean, he was a huge person in getting that started. But at the same time, if you talk to him, he would ego to an extent too. But his emphasis and impact on the scene can't be denied. You know, that's how certain people are.
Like, people are really quick to dismiss people like that. Like, Zai says things that are interesting, but he actually did a lot for actually putting shit out there, giving people like without Zai, a lot of people just wouldn't be actually interested. You'd have a smaller user base, smaller customer base, all that. Like, I mean, that goes back to Finalmouse when we were talking about the cable before. Like, they put the fucking ideas out there. Finalmouse did a fuck ton of shit that's like really good for the industry.
Oh, yeah.
People like dismiss them about stuff, and it's like, all right, they have issues, but they did so many things that other people weren't, and like popularized it. And that's why we have a lot of the stuff as soon as we do now. I mean, I'm sure we would have reached that point without them, but you can't discredit them. I want to touch on the cables being too flexible, because that's absolutely true. Cables can be too flexible. Like, holy shit, really flexible? Like, the issue, well, most cables aren't. Like, they're just straight up not, but you absolutely can have way too flexible cables. A really heavier cables, you were talking about that before. The heavier the cable, the more the actual flexibility will fucking impact it in a negative way. Like, a heavy flexible cable, you'll feel that shit ringing across the desk. Yeah. Ringing is like when you do a movement and then the actual cable movement is delayed, and you'll feel that when you're going the other direction already. Like, a heavy flexible cable is horrible. I would absolutely prefer a heavy stiffer cable. But that basically just says make lighter cables, not specifically stiffer cables.
Right.
Yeah. I had some issue with the V2XM1 cable, but I think it's like there's so many more just like optimized things you can do.
There's a lot of variables in that as well, like sensitivity, like what games you play. Like Fortnite has a lot of up and down movements, so they need more like slack from their bungee if they even use one, things like that.
Yeah. I think people should actually really focus on cable weight way more than the actual, well, not more than the flexibility, but like it should actually be really high up there.
Yeah.
I think people idolize flexibility way too much, but then don't think about the other stuff.
Yeah, no, I think my cables, I got them like right where I want them to be, because I made it so that horizontal movements, they're flexible enough for horizontal movements where you can't feel it, but vertical movements, it's where like it keeps its shape. So when you push it forward, the cable doesn't bend as much. So that, like, if you're like picking up your mouse and you lift it up to try to like recenter it, you won't like get on top of your cable.
Yeah, that's actually one of the benefits of the 3D printed stress relief too, because when you attach it there, it adds like a little bit of tension coming just out of the front. So it helps keep it from going under vertical movements a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't try and flex right at the front.
Correct.
Yeah, that was my issue with the early, with the ultralight Phantom. I don't know how many times I used to run over my cable with the ultralight Phantom. I was, died numerous times in Quake. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, and yeah, at the same time, for all the crap I give Zai and all the crap I give Finalmouse and all the crap, like, you do have to recognize their impact. Same for Ceesa. But
Ceesa did so much.
Huh?
Ceesa did so much cool stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah, 100%.
I think his cables aren't good, but like, holy shit, the Pinout stuff, he popularized so much stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, besides that, the only good guide. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but have you guys seen the MouseClub Pinout guide?
Oh yeah, that's really good too.
Yeah.
Didn't
I
that
mean-
originate from I forgot what website it was, but it was like a mouse, I guess, sort of like a subreddit, but not really.
You talking about
And
Overclock Network?
Ceesa,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ceesa
Ceesa's,
had
yeah.
all his pin layouts on there. He started that.
Oh yeah, exactly, right there. Ceesa had the only list for that for years. I mean, Ceesa was basically Paracords for like a decade, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question. So detachable mouse cable is like the Skull Mini. Do you think we could ever get to a point to where we could have a paracord cable that could connect outside of the mouse, like to even make? Would that be possible to have it where right outside the mouse it connects?
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
Well, just terminate it in USB-C or whatever. Well,
Yeah.
that's
Like I said,
kind
we
of
already
annoying.
offer that. Yeah. Yep. And then that actually would make certain things a lot easier because if like the industry shifted toward that, then it'd be a lot easier to prep cables and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen like I know Series started doing that, but what I was wondering is if you take it a step further and say, if let's say a company has a cable where you can make one end to replace that cable and then also sell another end to go with it. Like, would that be possible, or is that too far?
I was actually experimenting this thing like probably like a month or two ago, where I bought one of those like magnetic cables where it would be like the different ends on it, and I soldered one end of the detachable end, like the magnetic part, and I made it so that it would go into the like a mouse body that like is like wires stuck onto it. You know, you can't detach it. And I try to make it so that you could add like a magnetic detachable cable to it. But it was like, it would work, but I just didn't have like the right tools to like fit the shape of it so that it would fit in the hole and stuff like that.
Yep. That and
But
also
it could work like that.
Yeah, when you start getting into stuff like that, especially with magnets, mice getting lighter and lighter, you have to think about how much that's going to affect it and such. Weight distribution things too.
Shouldn't be that bad.
I don't know, I've only tried a few of them from Amazon, and the magnets were quite heavy.
I can measure mine right now.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, there's definitely, I think, a world of experimentation as we try and get to wherever we're gonna go. Like I said, I think we're right now moving up exponentially, and then we're gonna get to that world of diminishing returns towards endgame, where every mouse just comes out almost perfect, and you're just looking for the shape that fits you. That's where I'm hoping the world gets to, where at that point every mouse is basically as good as you could want. You know, and it's just all about finding the shape that fits you best and finding the size. Hopefully every mouse will come in 3 sizes at some point, and it's just finding the right size for you. One day, the M1K, there'll be an M1K XL for me. 30 gram M1K XL.
Yeah, touching on that and the point earlier, like how it will affect business, like companies getting cables that are better and wireless stuff like that, and like that's why we chose to aggressively pursue like other things as well. So that'll definitely be something to think about for other paracord makers and cable makers and stuff like that.
I think Paramouse, right? No, I'm messing up the name.
Paracord mouse.
Yeah, Paracord Mouse. They're doing that too, where they start selling feet as well, right?
I think he's selling a lot of stuff now.
Yeah. So I think it's amazing where the world's going. I think a big thing for me would be also, like you said, I mean, we've talked about this conversation we had, Lethal, potentially convincing lizard grips to start, or lizard skins to start making cutouts for their fucking things. Because I mean, I remember me and Hektik did a video way back in the day where I like cut out I did like 20 mice in a day of like playing lizard grips on my mice, but of course it didn't come out looking good. Back then we were doing like the rolls, did not come out looking good. I got blasted on Mouse Review for it. Hammered.
Yeah, like I had talks with him about that, and yeah, I was like really hammering into him, like, look, like everyone loves your grips, like they need to be pre-cut. Like I can give you all the info you need, but they just need to be pre-cut. And they're like, oh, well, we have stencils for now, so and so, and then like I kept pounding on them to the point where now they don't seem to want to reply to me, unfortunately.
We either need a review bomb or we all need to just message them. We all just need to like mass tweet them. I mean, I feel like now they really need to be going all into esports at this point with how COVID's impacting lacrosse and hockey and baseball, which are the three sports that they make most of their income off of. You know, you would think that now more than ever they would be going into esports heavy. So maybe we can start tweeting out at them. Boardzy, I know you want to get the mob. We can get our pitchforks out. I'm ready.
Because I know they definitely saw the impact when they released them, because like I know for a fact they received a lot of requests from a lot of companies to start stocking them across the world. And so like I know the numbers they were looking at, so I don't see them eventually not doing it. Like they're gonna have to.
I'm waiting for it, because once they do, I might have to just buy. I mean, I literally at one point, how many rolls did I have? I had like 20 rolls of lizard skins back then. But
I know ITakTek does pre-cut lizard skins. They're a bit more expensive, but the last mouse that they started doing pre-cuts for was the Hot ES. So I don't know if they're gonna continue to make pre-cuts for newer mice.
Yeah, gotta be exhausting. That's for sure. Either you need to start just pre-cutting them, you need to just hire extra staff to pre-cut them nonstop.
Yeah.
Guess what? What would be the next step here? What are there any questions from the chat that you guys have while we think of interesting? I think we touched on so much. This has been really good. This has been I know this has been a lot meatier, heavier topics today. And that's kind of what we're going for. So what thoughts do you guys have? And yes, lizard skins do need better colorways, especially because a lot of their best colorways aren't even available for their esports.
Oh, they fixed the adhesive on the new ones, right?
That's awesome, because I know the ones that I have, I couldn't take those things off even if I wanted to. Are there any other interesting topics that Lethal, Blue, WParacordS, Hektik, Boardzy? Are there any topics that you feel like we missed that we should touch on and add?
None that I can really think of.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we definitely covered a lot of things. Can't really think of any more.
I guess it's a WParacordS question, because I know Lethal, you saw the smallest. You saw the 1.0 SH JST. What is the smallest JST you've ever seen, WParacordS?
The smallest?
Yeah.
I don't really know. I kind of just stuck to the 1.0.
You have to I showed Lethal this one for the fucking what's that mouse? For the Real Force mouse. It has the smallest one I've ever seen. And I had to take a picture of it and send it to Lethal to see if he ever saw something that small. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty tiny. But at least I could find the tools for that one. The Molex one that's similar in size. I've had some issues. I even ordered like an expensive official crimping tool from Molex, and it still doesn't want to crimp it correctly.
The Pico lock? The Pico lock?
I believe so. I could probably look it
Pico
up.
blade.
I don't remember exactly which size it is.
There's Pico lock and there's Pico blade.
Yeah, Patrick.
Obviously, we use Pico lock, and that's the one we use is for a 30 gauge and 32 gauge.
I mean, it's already a phenomenal, amazing cable. Are you guys gonna offer paracords for the M1K? That way, Boardzy can do a full comparison video from the amazing, legendary M1K cable to then see how it compares to a CB or to a paracord.
The thing is, exchanging the cable on the M1K is pretty tricky. You have to get out the crimped conductors out of the hole at the front of the carbon fiber shell. So, and they, you can't just pull out all four conductors at once. You have to pull out one ahead of the others and then the rest. So it's pretty tricky.
With the stock cable.
That's
I
hilarious.
had to do that last week.
On the HSK and the post-fire haste, I just spliced the wires. I didn't take the connector out because I didn't have like a 1.25 unit connector like on hand, so I just spliced the wires.
I think the Kane uses a 1.25 and the KPU uses a 1.5. If I'm not mistaken.
Yep. That would be
yeah.
correct.
Yes. I need to go find Elin and scream, "Why? Why?" But yeah, I mean, I guess we pretty much touched on everything. Does anyone here play Diabolical for a post podcast game of Diabolical?
I do not.
I think there are 4 people in the world who play that game.
Just going for my soul. You actually liked it though. You actually enjoyed playing Instagib. You started getting clips. Hopefully we see the clips in a review one day.
Quite possible. I play a FFA Instagib on 5cm to warm up. It's pretty interesting. I played 2 games of it.
There's also Instagib CTF. What the?
I might give that a shot.
And guys, this is last chances to ask your questions. I know you guys have to have questions. Oh, did you guys hear RJN's thinking about starting to make mice?
I did hear about
Been on
that.
that for a while.
I feel like it's gonna be a FK. I get the feeling. It's gonna be a wireless.
It's gonna be ranked below the Viper Ultimate though. Still,
I haven't looked at his rankings in so long.
He had some interesting stuff going on before COVID. I knew who was making it. I'm not gonna say anything, but like, I don't know if he's still doing the same stuff as then, because it was actually going to be pretty interesting.
Ooh, that's right. You guys are like probably in some legendary Aussie Discord together talking about mice.
The real question is, who's still waiting on their 9-ox Astrum?
Well, Rocket already made it.
I think
I've got a question then. What do you guys think of Slim Paracord or Slim Cord? I don't know how it's called. It's a really
It's Russian,
really
right?
narrow. Yeah, it's Russian. It's a really narrow paracord style cable. So, and because it is so narrow, it shouldn't be as flexible in theory. And I think he uses. I talked to him. I think he uses.
That's the Turbo Bitbox guy.
Okay. Well, thoughts?
I only know one person who has one, and he says like extremely positive things about it. But I might need to like try one. Seems interesting.
We're currently experimenting with that now with a few different wiring options. But yeah, the issue we've been running into is trying to find a paracord that is that small in diameter that is not very stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also the production issue of trying to find something sturdy enough and thin enough to be able to run wiring through that consistently and quickly.
Yeah. So, I guess I guess small conductors would be advantageous when you go with such a small paracord. Make it easier to fit them in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was why we had the 36 gauge in currently.
I see. The 36 gauge, what insulation was that? Was that a fluoropolymer insulation? Because at that gauge, they very often are.
No, it's PTFE based.
PTFE, well, that's fluoropolymer. Okay.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Is it enamel?
No. I'll try to find the info on it real quick.
One drawback of PTFE insulation, by the way, is that PTFE has a pretty high density. So it's actually twice as much density as polyethylene has, for example. So if you have a wire that's insulated with PTFE insulation, really adds a lot of weight. It's thick. So,
yeah, it is very, very thin.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to get with you later on that. I can't pull it up right now, but
what games do you guys all play? I know Hektik plays Apex. I know Boardzy just plays Crunker.
Well, I'm Crunker in StarCraft, so
Yeah, I knew that. What games do Lethal and WParacordS play? W played some Diabolical with me earlier this week.
Oh yeah, it was. I was getting bored really fast.
Well, that's because you decided to challenge us to some Shaft Arena.
What is that not? Is that not fun? Apparently.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's super fun, but only if you're like really into it. Like you have to be into tracking to just like me and some of the other guys that were in there. Like we can play Shaft Arena for like 3 hours straight. So unless you're like a tracking person that can just focus on aiming and dodging for like 3 hours straight and be like, this is fine, then then it's not really a good use of time. Huh?
I was just gonna say lately I've been playing Call of Duty. I haven't had much free time with trying to expand stuff, but I'm a masochist and have a few thousand hours in PUBG. So.
Oh wow! Oh gosh!
That's great.
Poor person. Oh.
Oh, I've been so depressed about Cold War. The beta was really good, but then they just kneecapped everything good about it.
Yeah, it definitely has some drawbacks. I do like how a lot of the map design went somewhat to the older styles with more setup based, at least for competitive play.
Yeah, I've actually started playing Splitgate. I found it to be like really fun because it's extremely similar to Halo, but it has like Portal 2 aspects in it.
I don't want to hurt your feelings, but Splitgate, like, as you played maybe 6 months ago, there was actually a really active, strong player base.
Yep, I was on there for sure.
Yep, I was on there too.
I feel like the reason I find it to be really fun is because everyone on there just can't really aim.
Yeah, well, see, had you been playing like 6 months ago, like, I think the problem that the game had was there were like the closed alpha people who were like crazy good compared to everyone else. And then once all the people got into the game, they were getting shit stomped. And they got their feelings hurt. So now they're probably the last people left on the game.
Playing Splitgate just had a lot of the AFPS problems, even though, I don't know if it is one, technically, but like, it's just like, there's not a lot of, like, if you look at COD or Apex or Battlefield or whatever, you can just go do something else and still be effective. But like AFPS, like, what are you going to do? You're just going to lose. Like, there's no, I don't want to call it a cop-out, but there's nothing you can just do something else to not suck shit at.
Yeah,
like, Splitgate, the movement fucking sucked, so everyone was just like, cool, I win because I can aim. Like, there's no insane movement you can do to change it up or whatever.
And that's what Aim Gods is trying to solve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about aim. It's about your awareness.
I've seen Aim Gods, and it is terrible. Tomorrow's going to be a pretty funny day.
Isn't it really coming heavy?
I've heard. Do you want to talk about? Do we want to give any Aim Gods leaks on here, Boardzy? Should we get some Aim Gods leaks?
I've heard that they're able to talk about it as long as they don't reveal what it looks like.
It's basically people who have played the game have compared it to like rock, paper, scissors, like how hard the abilities counter each other. And it's really about just having like the most optimized build, and like actual aim doesn't matter too much. It's basically like you're playing, I don't even know, a game that's that slowly paced. It's probably like twice the speed or half the speed of Valorant.
I've heard it's like playing WoW Arena.
Yeah, it's like basically the exact same thing. There's two pillars. Oh, fuck. Not supposed to leak that.
Yeah,
I feel so bad for the people that have to play it right now. Honestly,
I mean, it's for fucking $250,000.
Yeah, and the streams are probably working off it.
Yeah, but
why wouldn't you?
It reminds me of like, I mean, as in my times playing competitive gaming and then being a competitive coach, you just remember once they get to a point to where they just hate what they're doing, but it's making them money, so they can't stop. And then I feel like for these people, they're like, what, maybe they've been playing for like a week, and they're probably already getting to that point like, damn, this is my life right now. Oh no, maybe I'm just a jaded boomer.
Yeah, but I'm gonna buy it, and if it sucks, it sucks, I guess. But it's always like worth a shot to try and win the mouse.
I wasn't gonna buy it, but then I realized I could do a game review, and if it's terrible, that could be like a good video. So I might have to buy it.
Ooh, that's very true. I didn't think about that. There still needs to be the Boardzy huddled Andy, Diabolical, and Crunker stream. It needs to happen. I've been waiting for you guys to teach me Crunker, and I've been waiting to teach you guys Diabolical.
Well, I mean, I'm on winter break, and Huddled's probably gonna have more time after the tournament, so definitely could happen.
Yeah, I might take what either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday off work. Thursday is gonna be a half day. I actually have a little bit more time this week. That's the one thing I envy you, man. You have all the time to get the videos edited and still play games and everything. How great it would be to be young again.
Well, I don't edit my videos. That probably helps with the editing time.
Oh, there you go.
I just record one take, and if I mess up, I just leave it recording and then like cut whatever the part I fucked up is out. So videos, I just wake up, roll out of bed, record the video, then I like get ready while the video is like rendering, and then upload to YouTube. Very simple process.
Yeah, I go in, I try and get the music in the background. I'm probably making it too. Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time like in the scenes, right? I record in 4K on my actual cameras, and then get the audio from a Streamlabs recording that I do. That way I get the beauty of the mic there. So yeah, it ends up being kind of a tedious process because then I have to sync them together, and then I have to do some edits on the audio. Yeah, I probably am overkilling it right now.
Yeah, just click record on OBS.
Yeah. Oh yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on Boardzy's mic? It was a recommendation from me, so I will take full offense if you guys don't like it.
That sounds pretty good.
Sounds good.
I mean, it is the Pokemon one, right?
Yeah, it's Pokemon's mic, Anthony Fantano's mic. It's really
exactly
nothing better could be made.
I have the higher end version of it, which no one ever gets because it's not that much better than RE20.
How much are they both?
The RE20 is $400. The RE27 is $500. And then all the stuff like the mic stand for it, because I've got the Podcast Pro from Aculite, which is OC White, and that's like $100. And then the mount to keep it from ever shaking or anything, that's like $100 too from Electro Voice. And then the pop filter is $20. But we all know I'm overkill. That's why I don't even have a regular $150 cloud lifter. I decided I wanted the $250 cloud lifter. Even though this mic doesn't even need a cloud lifter. And it has a fucking, I have a Go XLR for it, so it definitely doesn't need a cloud lifter. The things you can waste money on. Such as
Yeah, I feel like I definitely have a problem with mice because I spend money on mice more than I will on anything else in my setup. Like I'm still on a Gigantus V2.
Gigantus is pretty alright though. It's just a good cheap pad.
I was like that, but then I noticed when Hektik remembers my OG reviews and stuff. I used to just, because it was similar style to Boardzy's, except I had like no filter. I would stream for like 30 minutes or an hour or two, and then I would take like 30 minutes of that and release that as a Twitch video. As a YouTube video. Sometimes it'd be 45 minutes, and you'd have to jump around to find the content that was worthwhile. I used to get a lot, and my setup used to be scuffed. Like it was like 2 Razer Kios at one point. So people just used to always talk about how the quality of the stream or the quality of the videos just weren't good enough. So I was like, okay, fine, fuck it, we ball. Yeah, it got overkill. Like now, if you saw in the earlier videos, the ones I just released, the camera, you can see the camera cables and stuff. Now the camera, like that big camera next to me, is wrapped in a green screen as well, or a green screen fabric. And how you can kind of see if I go over, you can see out into my place. I actually just ordered a second Elgato green screen. So now it should look ideally flawless. But those green screens are hard to get nowadays. Like they're all sold out on Amazon and they're going for like $250 on eBay. What most people don't know is if you just buy them directly from Corsair, you can get them regular price and they ship within like a week. Sorry for the little mini. Raichu. I just got my Artist and He and Soft XL a few days ago. Used to use a Gigantus V2. Thanks, Boardzy. Pretty nice. Yeah, Boardzy's been killing it with the video game. Like, it's been really, really nice seeing just the quality that you put out. So, mad props.
Appreciate it. And yeah, talking about the Hien, like if you have a bad mouse pad, just like invest in an artisan pad. I can't say it enough. It's just worth it.
Yeah. And we were really hoping.
I feel like the bigger YouTubers, like mainly Brandon Taylor, kind of drove everyone away from the artisan lineup, because I remember he was saying like the Hien had like really bad X and Y difference. And like when I first watched it, I didn't really know much about mousepads, and I took his word for it. Like I thought, like, okay, I'll stay away from that brand. But now I'm like, that's what I'm going to be getting. I'm going to be getting like a Hien soft.
To be fair, the Hien does have an XY difference. It's especially noticeable on the Hien mid. I've heard that it's not as bad on the Hien soft, but I have a Hien mid. There is more of that XY, like even the very original reviews from Taka for the Hien talk about the XY difference. So it is a thing. But I don't know what it's like on the soft or the extra soft, but it exists.
Yeah, I think one of the main reasons big reviewers don't recommend them more is because people see the cost, and especially if you're in like Europe or somewhere where there's a heavy tax on import stuff, the price goes way up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't really take a lot of Brandon Taylor's reviews like for word, because I mainly just watch his videos just to see like if there's anything new that released that he got early or something. But now I don't really trust him as much, especially since he has his own Razer mousepad.
Who?
Brandon Taylor.
I have a good relationship with Brandon Taylor, so it's hard, even though I haven't talked to him in forever now. But I feel bad. I was in his Discord for ages without ever watching a Brandon Taylor video. Anytime someone said anything controversial about a Brandon Taylor video, I was like, well, I've never watched it. I know he's a good dude. That was always my response. But I know he tries. The thing that I always say about guys like him and Frank and all of them, it's an experience watching their video. Really more about the aesthetic, the great quality. That's what you get when you watch.
Yeah, some of his newer videos though have been like, I feel like he's been really honest, because the Aerox 3 wireless review, like especially that one, he was saying like it wasn't really a great mouse. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, then he also said he mained it. It was really weird.
Oh yeah, when he first got it, it was his new main, and then I feel like once every other reviewer was saying bad things about it, he realized he couldn't just say it was his new main and like move on to the next product.
To be fair about the Aerox 3, I don't have one, but I can see how you could main it if you were to replace the feet and do some other things. Like
it's like a really stupid mouse. If you like, I don't know, it's just really hard to recommend, especially at 100.
The price point. If you really look, the thing that my big problem is I generally don't look at price point. So for reviews, I have to like consider price point, but I don't really look at price point when I buy a mouse. It's just like, do I want this mouse? Yes, no. Am I willing to spend the money to make this mouse actually usable? Yes, no. And then go from there. And that's part of the issue. Because, like, for example, the shape, as long as the wireless is at least decent, that shape's one of the old great shapes. So to be able to have it wireless at that weight, fix the feet, fix all those other things, it can be. But when I recommend that to someone that's looking for a mouse and has a budget, nah, you can't do that. But for other people, if it's like there is no budget, then maybe. But at the same time, like, yeah, it's interesting.
Is there anything where you do look on the price?
I ended up. I looked at the price for the M1K mainly because it was like Not even because of the price, but as much because it was a Kickstarter. Now it's like, should I really invest $250 into a Kickstarter when I've got no clue? But then as I got to know Blue better, because we talked about it, you remember we went back and forth, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be challenging. And then I finally bit the bullet and got the Kickstarter, and then when I did, I totally forgot I was waiting on it, and then one day it popped up in the mail. But for most things, I mean, like the Glee pad, it was just one of those things I knew I had to buy. You know, same thing for the M1K. For most of the things, it's just like, will this be something that I would truly enjoy? Like, if we look at just mice that I bought recently, mice that I don't think will even necessarily be good, but like I got the the Razer Pro Click. I was talking with Razer Fiend, and he was like, "Hey, this is an interesting mouse. It has all the Razer tech in it that makes for a good gaming mouse. The only issue is it's 106 grams, and it's got like a 10-gram scroll wheel, and probably has another 10 grams lost in the fucking battery. So this is an excellent mouse. If they got this down to 80 grams or 70 grams, this could be a GOAT mouse. Like, the shape's legendary. It's very, very, very fucking comfortable. And then I just bought like a Razer Naga Pro the other day, just because I was curious what it would be like. So I guess it depends. I know that's definitely not worth it. But Slorpy had a question. I think he's mentioned this question twice. Paracord mouse or Paracord Company top 3. So I don't even know if you guys are allowed to answer this, if you guys feel comfortable answering this, or if you guys want to exclude your company from like the actual listing. But what would be your top 3 for Slorpy? And if you don't want to answer, that's fine. I just saw he put the question in twice now.
I mean, I'm not going to answer because I don't want to like, there's so many things I haven't tried, so I don't really want to give a top 3. But if I have like, if I'm affiliated with them, like if you can use code Boardzy, it's 100% a top of the line cable. Like those are the cables that I use on all of my mice, so I vouch them. But I mean, definitely in the coming months, I'm going to be trying like more cables, hopefully making some videos about them.
And if Photon ever responds, we've been going back and forth with him. There should be Boardzy, Huddled, and Andy Photon Wire. WParacordS, Lethal, you guys even want to answer this question?
Mike's cutting in and out.
I don't know. Probably won't answer it. Just refer to Boardzy's list. Pretty much. Whatever he recommends is probably a good cable because he, actually plays games and cares.
True.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know where I would list because I do this on the side. So availability for me, like availability for my cables isn't really like easy right now because this isn't like the main thing I do.
Yeah, and talking about availability, we will be having a video come out in the next few weeks explaining the steps we're taking and stuff like that, because I know that's obviously the biggest complaint with ours is availability.
I look forward to trying you guys' cables in the future and comparing them to the legendary Tonti BBW and M1K cable, as well as like the other flexible stock cables I have. I buy a lot of fucking Razer mice for whatever reason, so I have a lot of theirs. I've got the this mouse which I've never used yet, but the Zygon, which I need to test its cable. I really want to try the fucking Mulaku. Have you Boardzy? Have you tried the Mulaku?
Nah, what's that?
The Mountain Mulaku.
He doesn't know palm grip.
Oh, the fucking palm grip mouse that Techni uses? No, I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah,
I have one here.
that's one that is high on my list. That's probably the next mouse I'm getting, to be honest. I've heard things. Is there like a back order with them? I heard someone was mentioning something about they're hard to get now.
I ordered mine last week and it arrived in like 2 days.
Okay, cool. That's all I need to know. Yeah, 'cause I want to compare it to the Zygon. I'm kind of starting to. I want to have like a top 5 Ergo palm grip list. So I think for that, not necessarily palm grip, but Ergo mice to have. Because I just love Ergo mice for large hands. Even though for some reason I always end up coming back to the KPU for tiny hands, but Ergo. I always cramp my hand.
Yeah, I do like the shape of the this one a lot, but the only issue I have is the way it's shaped. The right where I want to put my index finger is like on top of the scroll wheel instead of the actual click itself. First time I've ever had that problem, but everything else is extremely comfortable and it's well built.
I have one more question about the Paracord cables. Have you guys considered ordering a custom-made conductor?
Like wiring?
Yeah, so like specifically specific wire sizes and specific insulation, specific stiffness, and so on.
The wiring we currently use is custom made by a company, but it's mainly just options they had, and we found the best option that worked for us, piecing things together that they offered.
Yeah, and then mine is the specifications match like what I wanted, and they're very similar to other paracord companies, so I just got it and it worked perfectly fine for me. But there was like some other wiring that I was thinking about getting in bulk. It's called JagFlex, but I didn't really go through with it because I felt like it would be like way too flexible, and it was pretty expensive at the time.
Yeah, that's another issue with trying to produce large amounts of cables. They're handmade like that. It's because the custom wiring is not cheap. You have to order it in very large quantities for it to work. And so, like, if you get more people working on the cables, then suddenly your margins get thrown all out of whack.
Custom cables are expensive, and you have to order. You have to order a few kilometers before it really makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, just so you guys have an idea, just how the video is gonna be, it will probably be up until that spot where we stopped, and asked for questions, and then I'm gonna take like the good questions and responses individually and piece those together at the end. If you guys are ever wondering, like, when you see the podcast video, is it gonna be like these dead spaces? Usually, I cut all of that, like, those spots out. So probably like when we talk about games and stuff, most of that's gonna be cut out. Which is also why it takes a lot longer for these videos to be released. But yeah, also, what are you guys' thoughts about this? Like, it has been great working with all of you guys. What are you guys' thoughts on the podcast and like how this was laid out, and thoughts on how it can be improved? And thoughts on how it could be improved. Yeah, I need to turn up my mic gain for when I do stuff like this. For when I do the podcast, I always forget. But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts? I was saying that a lot of this stuff's gonna get edited in a way that once it kind of broke off, like the boom, 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 it's going to take some of these best moments and put those at the end. And that's kind of why it takes a while for these reviews or the podcast to come out, because afterwards we take a lot of time to edit, make sure you just get the parts that you need. So only like the first, like it's gonna be edited out like maybe the first 10 minutes, and then it's gonna be like the next the next hour and 10 minutes, and then after that, all this other parts get edited in. Make sure that comes out right. But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on the podcast? What are you guys' thoughts on for the guests who have been here? What are you guys' experience on it? And then what are the chat's thoughts on how it can be improved? I see what you guys are talking about. It definitely, I have to figure out how to make a good overlay, and what things can be done to get a good overlay so you guys can see who's talking. I think maybe me, Hode, and Boardzy are gonna have to make like some prototypes of it, or I'll come up with some prototypes and just get them all onto a call for it. That's a good point. Release small portions like clips. Everyone's hyped for the Boardzy M1K review, Blue. You see it? They're hyped for it. There will be a M1K review coming probably in the next week or so. It should be recorded. Might get recorded tomorrow, actually. The M1K video might get recorded tomorrow if me and Blue can get the schedule together. But I mean, obviously it'll be a partially biased review because Blue will be there. But it's gonna be talking about like the more intricate stuff that makes this mouse great. Probably talk about the firmware, things like that. So that'll be out, or at least recorded, then will come out sometime. The podcast will probably be the most important thing to get out. So probably shortly after the podcast comes out, the video will come out as well.
It's definitely a unique way to do a review. Be sure to like watch it, retweet it.
Heads up, Boardzy, by the way, our CNC machine broke 2 days ago, so we have to. A CNC machine. We mill out the buttons from the carbon fiber. And,
that's tragic.
Without this machine, we can't. We basically have 0 button M1Ks, so we have to fix that first. So yeah, that might delay things a bit.
When is Boardzy gonna get invited to the M1K Discord? By the way,
I will send him an M1K. That's like a small Discord.
It's one of the, in my opinion, it's one of the 2 most goated mouse Discords you can be in. I think Hektik, you're a mod for that Discord, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yes. This started 2 hours and 20 minutes ago, but the video will be out soon. So I know a lot of people typically watch the Twitch VOD afterwards, but there will be a video probably in the next week or so. And then also the next episode is going to be about MouseExcel. We're gonna get the raw Excel people, and Povo Hat himself will be there. So that's what the next episode's gonna be about too, if you guys are looking forward to that one. Did you see that chat comment from Shabazz? Or Shazeb from Shazeb? The HSK is going to dethrone the M1K, he said.
Yeah, for sure.
What are you gonna say, Lethal?
It's like the glorious elemental pads versus artisan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I actually have to go, so hate to cut it a little bit short, but I just want to say it's been great being on here, great talking to everyone, nice to meet some of you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and I'm looking forward to doing this again sometime. Just hit me up whenever.
Awesome. Pleasure. Thanks for being here. I know it's really hard working around your schedule. I had to figure out the time when you weren't going to be releasing one of your viral drops. So it is a pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no problem. See you guys.
See ya.
All right, see ya.
But yeah, I think the next big thing is going to be figuring out the overlay solution. That's a big thing. Probably trying to get definitely gonna have to get everyone's cameras, or not even if you want to have your camera. If not, so your HSK, I would buy it from you. Shit.
I sold it to like this pretty famous disabled Fortnite player who doesn't have like fingers, and he like attached it to a strap, but he didn't like it for some reason.
Was it the extra player?
Yeah, Aaron.
Okay. Well, at least it went to a good use.
Yeah, I traded it for my graphics card, but I'm thinking about buying it back.
What graphics card did you get?
The RX 5700 XT.
You traded it for you traded that. Is it worth that much?
The RX 5700 XT, it's like on eBay, it could get as low as like around 300.
What?
So the HSK is worth 300 right now?
God, I sold it for like a quarter of that.
He bought a 3070 and he didn't want it.
What the fuck?
Man, I need to get my mouse trading game up, clearly. Well, I guess I do have mice that I can trade for a lot. It's just I don't like selling my mice.
Apparently, you could trade the Finalmouse for like a whole setup, basically.
I've got I've got Air 58 with the Ultralight 2 cover, and scroll wheel and BBW. That probably is, besides the M1K, my most valuable mouse on the market if I was to sell it.
Doesn't the Phantom go for a fuck ton now?
Yeah, Phantom's always going for a fuck ton. Honestly, I actually saw someone that had a Phantom. I was selling him something. I was selling him a AMD 2700X. I was tempted to see if I could try and finesse the Finalmouse out of him. But I think he figured out it was worth. Lucky.
I know someone on Mouse Market tried selling the Phantom for 800 and he got banned.
That's funny. Well, yeah, the thing is, when you're on Mouse Market or a hardware swap or anything, the whole point is the market sets your price. Like, you really can't abuse it. You need to go on eBay for shit like that. Let's see how the HSK is. I really just want it for a comparison video too.
I mean, the HSK's quality. It had like as just mouse buttons, and they felt like shit. So it was a turnoff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The shape itself was nice.
The tips of my fingers rested like at the very edge of the clicks because, like, I don't know, that's just the most comfortable way I could hold it. And there would be times where I would try to click it and it wouldn't click because at the very edge, you can't push down on it. You have to push down towards like the center of it.
Yeah, well, then you guys were both very much like the M1K. The clicks are very, very light. Very light. Light mouse with light clicks.
That's so good.
What are the switches in here, by the way?
Japanese M1s. The D2F-01F.
Honestly, this might end up being my main. It's good, especially since I realized I have a scroll wheel on my game board, my Razer Orb Weaver or my Razer Tartarus optical. So because of that, has a scroll wheel basically on my keyboard for gaming. I always have one for whenever I'm doing it. Plus, now I have this Razer mouse, the Pro Click, hooked up to it. The Pro Click is honestly a sleeper mouse. Like I thought I didn't realize how good this mouse is, but this shit's really, really fucking comfortable. Now of course it's 106 grams, but if we get enough people to talk about it, they could easily. I was talking with Fiend about it. You could easily get this mouse to like 80 grams, if not lighter. Unfortunately. But then again, didn't Elon get the Razer Naga Pro to 79 grams? Thing's 119 grams. You got to like 79. I remember someone talking about that in the chat. Do you remember hearing that, Hektik?
It sounds like something he'd do.
Yeah. But that's a really interesting mouse, so. Can I tempt any of you into playing some Diabolical with me? We can play like casual modes that you all enjoy. We don't have to duel. Plus Hektik, then you can talk about your you could talk about your 1 day of Diabolical experience. It will allow you to make awesome mouse reviews. Best intro ever. I have 20 years of. How are Zai's books, by the way? Has anyone read them?
I read the first few pages.
Good?
Wait, you say RJN's books?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
always wanted to be an author. Like, he never wanted to be a mouse reviewer.
It was like, it seemed to be very generic, but I mean, I didn't read enough of it. Did you watch the trailer on YouTube?
I don't click on anything on RJN these days. Well, there's very few things. There's certain things that I'll click on for RJN. Seeing his new sizing videos, certain things. Like if I want to know some basic information about a mouse, if there's a mouse that shape I think I'll go to his video to see if he doesn't like the shape. And if he doesn't like the shape, that's a good reason for me to buy it. Not even saying that like anything bad about his shape choice and stuff. Just saying that I know me and him have exact opposite shape choices. So if he really doesn't like the shape of a mouse, then I know it's a good mouse for me. And yes, China, Boardzy is here. He says he's your biggest fan. And then El Flavio says he's actually the biggest fan.
Well, Synodote is irrelevant, and I do not care personally. And Flavio, hello.
Who is your number one fan? Do you know?
My number one fan?
Probably Cena.
Nah, probably Bryce, dude. Bryce DMs me like 40 times a day, which is obviously what your biggest fan would do.
I'd assume he'd be DMing Huddled.
No, he DMs both of us. It's insane. He's 13. He has like unlimited time. Oh no, One Ohm's in chat. He also might be my biggest fan.
Call him 1 ohm.
Yeah,
Okay.
because his name's not actually 10 a.m. He's a fraud. Illegitimate.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I've actually pinged at 10 a.m. before, and I look like an absolute like idiot.
Unlucky.
Because the zero in his name's not a zero; it's an O.
Yeah. I need to talk to Kovac about you, by the way, boys. I'll see what I can do.
I do not deserve an unban from Kovacs.
I will see what I can do. I
I
think
could
the
just
answer
make
will
an
be
alt.
no. The answer will almost certainly be no, but I will ask.
I mean, if Mad Badman can't get unbanned and he's like a legit player, I doubt I can. Since I have.
Is Mad Badman a legit player?
Yeah, nobody. The thing with cheaters is they don't consistently grind the game and keep posting new YouTube videos. Like his scores are steadily increasing. I think he's legit.
I don't know. But he's cool. I had he played in my Shaft Arena tournament. It's just I hear numerous things from different people, all respected people. So it's always difficult to get a fair. Oh, why does he sound? Sana says, why do you sound better on my stream than you sound on your stream?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, I'll also have it going through the Go XLR. So that could be it.
Also, the thing with Mad Badman is he's like good at other games too. And unless he's just like a serial cheater, I think it's safe to assume like most of his Kovac stuff is legit. Not saying they like, didn't cheat in the past.
So I will say this. I know people who are like pro players who cheat like in online tournaments and then go ball out at LAN. And, like I used to scrim against people like that back when I was actually competitively viable. Yeah, it exists. There's a lot of people who are fucking monsters. But yeah, they want to hear us talk about the new Finalmouse.
Do we know anything about it?
There was that leak on Reddit a few months ago, which is actually true. That was from Final Boy himself. So it's going to be like a 30 gram or supposedly 30 gram wireless metal mouse.
I mean, you can get an aluminum mouse light, but
yeah, but you wouldn't want it.
I feel like it can bend. I feel like it's gonna end up bending.
The difference between metals and plastics is that like plastics are like they're elastic. If you squish it, it's gonna come back. If you squish a metal mouse, cool, you've just got a dented metal mouse now.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Oh no, I have a bad feeling about the mouse.
If you palm grip it, it's gonna turn flat.
And if anyone wonders what my issues are with Finalmouse, I've personally been really pissed ever since. Well, I mean, I don't like the stock. I still buy every Finalmouse, so I just get that out there. I buy basically every Finalmouse when it comes out. But I was still really irritated by their marketing for the Cape, whatever, the Cape Town mouse. Really didn't like the marketing, the fake African dance.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I've been heated. I've been super heated.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna head out right now because I have some stuff that I have to get to right now.
Yeah, we've been going for a while.
Yeah. I do think we should end this at some point with me and Boardzy playing fucking Diabolical, and then following that by playing some Crunker.
All right, well, see ya, I guess.
Hey, take care. It's been a blessing to have the 16-year-old genius here. Thank you. You're gonna be doing huge. Well, you're already doing huge things, but by the time you're like 25, you're gonna be running laps around us with like your billionaire mouse business. Okay.
All right, well, thanks.
Peace.
It's always good seeing young entrepreneurs.
Yeah, we've been going on for a pretty long time. I haven't had a chance to eat anything since I streamed, so I'm gonna go get some food. It was nice talking to all of you guys. Nice meeting you, Hektik. Yeah, peace.
So yeah.
See ya.
I know it's getting pretty late for you too, right? What time?
It's getting late for me too, so probably will leave as well. Oh yeah, but it was a really meaty discussion of cables, which I enjoy a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks for setting it all up. I know it's a hassle to combine and merge the different schedules and the different time zones. It's like Australia, Germany, and the US. So pretty crazy that you managed.
The biggest thing, it had to be at this time because I needed to get right before you went to sleep and right before Hektik woke up. So this is like the exact time before you guys sleep and right when Hektik wakes up. So it had to be at 3 EST.
Okay.
Because what, that was 7 a.m. for you? We started at 7 a.m. for you, Hektik? And then like, what, 9 p.m. for you, Blue?
Yeah, 9 p.m. for me.
Yeah, the scheduling is always brutal, and then things come up. Like, I knew it had to be this week, because that's the only time it could work for Lethal's schedule. So, I knew it had to be this week for Lethal because he wasn't doing a drop, and then everything got through a huge wrench. I mean, it was a blessing, right, that Ho gets to play in that big Finalmouse tournament. but that throws a huge wrench into everything. I knew it would make his availability a lot more limited. But at the same time, you know, we had to at least make it all happen, get one together. And I knew this would be one where most of the mouse people, or most of the cable guys would be doing most of the talking anyway. So it worked out. Yeah, but yeah, the scheduling is brutal. But it's fun. And then coming up with the topics, you know, I really was trying to make sure we had good topics that all of you guys would love, that could really provide great quality for everyone. All media topics. Hey, tell Baby Blue I said hi, and then tell the wife I said hi.
Okay, will do.
Baby Blue,
And,
the only person that can palm the M1K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Hamster as well. I'm not sure.
Can Hamster palm the M1K, Hektik?
She probably can. Don't know if she does.
Have you kept up with Hamster? I haven't talked to her in like maybe a year.
Yeah, she's just getting life stuff done. She's doing well, I think.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like we have to get her on a podcast whenever she can make it at some point, just to have the old gang together again. Yeah, but clearly there's a market for your designs. You need to start selling your prints for the BBW makers. You have two people that would definitely pay a ransom for it.
You can buy the machines actually, like industrially, for reasonably cheap. It's just like they're big and annoying, and you gotta ship it through Alibaba, fucking freight, whatever.
Can you give me the link so I can send it to them?
I don't know them offhand. You'd just have to search like braiding machine into whatever website.
Okay, yeah, I had bad luck searching on is it Alibaba or the Chinese website? The Chinese website I could never find anything on. I really wanted to buy the what was that mouse for myself? I really wanted to buy the One Piece mouse for myself. The One Piece Razor Viper Mini, even though I would never be able to use it.
DHKit and Tabo.
Yeah, Taba, that's the one. I always get stuck trying to find stuff on there.
Yeah, it's hard if you don't know any Chinese, basically. I have to, well, I know like basic barebone stuff because I sometimes get shit from them, but it's like most of it's just Google translating and like weird intuition stuff. It's not fun, but you get really good prices.
I bought something on there, but it never arrived, so I kind of gave up. I bought I think the G9X clone. I bought the G9X clone from there. I gave up and then eventually talked to X-Ray Pads about having him, and then he just started selling it for me, and I bought one.
Oh yeah, how is that?
It's okay. It's really small. I mean, I guess when you think about it, for its weight, for its size, it's way too heavy. Like 70 grams at its size, which makes no sense. But it's cool. I think now that I'd probably be able to use it a lot more now. Now that I can use the M1K. I think I messed up the RGB on it like permanently, unfortunately. But that's
like that doesn't sound like a big drawback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, gonna go to bed. Thanks again, and see you soon, guys.
See you, Patrick.
Oh, I just realized how much weight this thing. They could make this mouse so much lighter. It has like a full like metal perimeter on it instead of like where most mice have RGB. This mouse just has metal.
Which the Razer one?
The Razer human scale mouse, yeah. Oh my god.
It seems really built for like professional stuff.
Yeah. I just happened to be talking to the dude, and he was like, "Yeah, for gaming, like he's like." Because I told him I was asking him if he'd have any. I can't talk too much about that, but I was just asking about a good large hand gaming mouse, and he, after us discussing it for a while, he recommended this. mainly because he was like, it has all the internals. It still has the same gaming sensors that they usually use, and then it still has like their gaming, like their switches and stuff that they usually use. The main thing is, just all the extra metal. The battery's probably way too big. If they were to switch it, they would probably change the implementation of the sensor to that lightweight that they do with the other ones. And then if they were to have the, they could easily put optical switches in it if it was a gaming grade mouse. The reason why they went with the Omrons is because they wanted to increase the battery life, or whatever they have. These are probably Omrons. And then like they have all this extra metal on it, and then they didn't do all the weight cutting stuff that they usually do for their gaming mice. But it's a shame because this could be like this could be better than the Death Adder or their G5 or their Basilisk V2. To be honest, if they really went all in.
They made a wireless Basilisk yet?
Yeah, there's a wireless Basilisk V2, and there's the Basilisk Hyperspeed. But the thing is, their wireless V2 is like 107 grams. You can get the Basilisk Hyperspeed to like 90, if you probably like almost 88 if you wanted to, because if you take the back cover off and you take put a AAA battery in there, especially if you use aluminum foil, you can usually get it to like 88 or 87. But it doesn't have that trigger that most people like on the Hyperspeed. But even the wireless version of the Basilisk V2 is like 92 grams. Or the wired version is 92 grams. But somehow the wireless turns out at like 107. Still perplexes me. Isn't that weird?
No, I don't know. They do different versions and stuff all the time, I guess.
Yeah, but like the Death Adder, I think, gains 3 grams. Or how heavy is the Death Adder V2?
I have no idea.
I know the wireless the Death Adder V2 Pro is like 90 or is 88 grams. And I think the Death Adder V2 wired is like either 80 or 85 grams. And then of course the Viper only has 3 grams more on the wireless version. So they can make very small adjustments wired to wireless.
Oh, I really hate Razer's fucking new supposed like speed flex or whatever it's called cables. The ones on the Viper Mini and on that like generation of Razer mice. I felt horrible.
Yeah, I think I liked at least one thing about them, that I didn't have to worry about them falling under the cable, or under the mouse. But that's probably just because they're too stiff.
Yeah, they're really stiff.
Yeah.
The Razer guy was talking about it. I don't remember which one. Just in one of the mouse review channels, and it was like, he was the one who was talking about the different manufacturers. Like some of them wouldn't meet USB spec. It was actually pretty interesting. I don't know what their positions are, but a lot of the Razer reps are actually pretty good to talk to.
Yeah. The ones that I think are in the mouse review Discord are the R&D guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense why the R&D guys would be the ones that they put in the mouse review Discords, to be honest.
Well, if people are going to chat shit about the mice, you might as well like put someone who's able to defend it. It's not just like marketing, whatever.
It's really is.
I think Razer's been doing well recently.
Razer's been doing well. Yeah. It's just I'm hurt by how this human scale mouse would actually be good for gaming, but it's not. Like, because 100. Like, I feel like if they went all the way, mouse would be excellent. Probably also, I don't know how much it takes to get Bluetooth. But if they didn't even do the Bluetooth part, it could.
It's probably the same antenna.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't add anything at all. Even if it's just another antenna, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
It's not really important.
But it feels very good. I mean, I feel like for just this being $100, it's definitely worth the money. Now, fortunately, I was able to get the Naga. The Naga was, I think, bought by a fucking scalper. Like, he has tons. Like, I bought it on eBay, and like the guy was selling tons of G Pro super lights for like 300 something. But I feel like he just couldn't get rid of the stock he had of Nagas. So I got the Naga Pro for him for like 115 unopened.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but it's good because I didn't have to pay the fucking 150 for it on Amazon.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I just feel like it would be good to review, just because no one reviewing it. Same thing for the Mountain Mulaku. I've been looking for like mice that I would like that no one's reviewing. But I think my number one priority is the podcast. I feel like it's a new thing.
Well, I'm probably gonna head off now.
Yeah.
It's been a while. We got a fair bit done.
Yeah, it was good. We're gonna have to have you on more. Definitely like a mouse grip episode, or even if it's just a YouTube video on mouse grip or something. I have to get some.
Yeah, I like talking to people about. Well, I have a lot of just weird perspectives on stuff that like. I want to argue with people, not like debate, angry argue. Just like talk about stuff and just like see where we disagree. Especially about mouse pads, mice shapes, and grip. Because I've done kind of a 180 on my grip stuff, where I'm mostly just like I think it doesn't matter for the most part. It matters in a way that people don't think it matters, but then it doesn't matter in a way that people think it does matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you're writing a thing on it, but it's just long and I get bored of writing stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna peace out.
Okay. Take care.
Yeah, it was good. See you next time. Whenever.
Yeah.
Bye.